Okay, before we can start recording transactions, we need to do one more thing. We need to talk about who pays for freight, right? We're buying things and we have to pay. Someone's got to pay to get them shipped, right? So we got a seller, we got a buyer, and we got a company that gets the goods from the seller to the buyer, right? Question is, who pays freight? Well, that's going to be something that's negotiated between the buyer and seller, and they're going to state it in one of two ways: either free onboard shipping point or free onboard destination, right? Now, these aren't hard. These are just telling you, right? Free onboard shipping point, that would be where? The spot where the thing is lowered onto the truck, right? Free onboard shipping point tell us that ownership transfers at the shipping point, right? So when these goods get on the truck, they now belong to who? They belong to the buyer, right? And the buyer has to pay the freight, and they're owned by the buyer. If the truck gets wrecked, it's his problem, right? Not the seller's. So free onboard shipping point means what? The buyer pays freight. Now, and when we're buying goods and we have to pay freight to get them to us, that becomes part of the cost of the inventory. So when we pay the freight, we increase our inventory and pay the cash out, right? Free onboard shipping point. Title transfers at the shipping point. The goods are now owned by the buyer, and the buyer is responsible for paying freight. Okay. Now, free onboard destination tells us what? That ownership changes where? At the destination. So now the goods get on the truck, right? They're shipped all the way here. They still belong to who? To the seller, because we have not reached the destination, right? So the seller owns those goods. If the truck crashes, it's the seller's problem, and the seller has to pay the freight to get them to the destination, right? Now, when we're selling things and we have to pay the freight, that's an expense. That's a cost of making that sale. So I debit delivery expense and I credit cash to record the payment of freight costs, right? So free onboard shipping point, buyer pays the freight, adds it to inventory. Free onboard destination, seller pays the freight, and it's an expense. It's a cost of doing business.